Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us once again for our German concert. We're excited to share with you the singers who were selected by our judges for this presentation this evening. We thank all of our contestants and applicants for putting in their submissions and also want to thank the judges for doing the work to listen to all the audition submissions, which took a lot of their time. Mitchell Serker, Sandra Calderon, and Andre Hovrin, thank you so much for your efforts. We have a great program put together for you today, ranging from opera to lieder to operetta, so there's a ton of variety tonight. So, grab a quick drink or a snack and sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We are opening our concert with 3 arias from The Magic Flute by Mozart. The work is in the form of a Singspiel, a popular form at the time, that included both singing and spoken dialogue. The work premiered in 1791 in Vienna, just 2 months before the composer's death. At the beginning of Act 2, Sarastro, the head of the priests, announces that the young Tamino will undergo the trial to join the Holy Order. He invokes the gods Isis and Osiris, asking for protection. DictionBuddy founder Kofi Hayford opens the concert with Sarastro's aria, O Isis und Osiris. O Isis und Osiris schenket der Weisheit Geist dem neuen Paar, die ihr der Wanderer Schritte lenket, stärkt mit Geduld sie in Gefahr, stärkt mit Geduld sie in Gefahr. Later in Act 2, the Queen of the Night seeks vengeance from Zarastro. In what is probably one of the most famous opera arias, she gives her daughter Pamina a dagger, ordering her to kill Zarastro and threatening to disown her if she refuses. We are pleased to introduce Katrin Bulka, soprano, and DictionBuddy German expert, singing the Evil Queen's aria. Der Hölle Rache kocht in meinem Herzen. Hell's vengeance boils in my heart. Meanwhile, Papageno, the birdcatcher, is desperately looking for his Papagena. He despairs at having lost her and decides to hang himself. Listen to bass baritone Will Kellerman sing Papageno's suicide aria, accompanied by pianist Lisa Kellerman.
an ihm den Hals zu schüren, weil das Leben mir missfällt, gute Nacht Schweizer wird, weil die Böse an mir handelt, mir kein schöner Kind zu bannen ist, so ist aus, so stelle ich, schöne Mädchen, denk an mich, schöne Mädchen, denk an mich. Will sich einer um mich armen, ich einer noch erbarmen, wo so lass ich diesmal sein? Rufe nur ja oder nein, rufe nur ja oder nein. Keiner hört mich, alles stille, alles stille, also ist es euer Wille. Papageno frisch hinauf in deinen Lebenslauf, Papageno frisch hinauf in deinen Lebenslauf. Nun, ich wart noch, es sei, ich wart noch, nun, es sei, bis man zählet, 1, 2, 3. 1. 2. 3. Nun wohlan, es bleibt dabei. Nun wohlan, es bleibt dabei, weil mich nichts zurückhält. Gute Nacht, du falsche Welt. Gute Nacht, du falsche Welt.
Franz Schubert was an Austrian composer of the late classical and early romantic eras. Despite his short lifetime, Schubert left behind a vast repertoire including more than 600 lieder. Ganymede, composed in 1817 and set on a poem by Goethe, is a prime example of Schubert through composed songs, where musical figures closely match the text. The poem is a celebration of man's unity with nature. Soprano Chelsea College delivers this lovely song.
Dich fassen möcht in diesen Armen.
Johannes Brahms was a German composer who spent much of his professional life in Vienna, and he was very close to Robert and Clara Schumann in his personal life. He composed approximately 380 songs. In Mädchenlied, the young girl's song, all the girls are singing, spinning the wheel, and preparing their wedding trousseau, except for one lonely girl who is all alone and weeping. We are delighted to present Eva Kastner-Puschel, mezzo-soprano, pianist, and DictionBuddy German expert. Richard Strauss is considered the leading composer of the late Romantic and early modern eras. The inspiration for many of his songs was his wife, soprano Pauline de Anna. Strauss completed Opus 27 in 1894, the year of his marriage with Pauline. Morgan relates the hope of two lovers that they will stay closely united, lost to the world. Tenor Boris Stepanov performs this exquisite lied with Julia Grekova at the piano.
dem strannen weiten Wogen blauen, werden wir still und langsam niedersteigen. Werden wir uns in die Augen schauen und auf uns sinkt des Glückes stummes
For the last section of our concert, we are back to the operatic repertoire, starting with 3 arias by Wagner. Richard Wagner is chiefly known for his operas. Unlike most opera composers, Wagner wrote both the libretto and the music for each of his stage works. Wagner revolutionized opera through his concept of the total work of art, an attempt to synthesize the poetic, visual, musical, and dramatic arts. His compositions, particularly those of his later period, are notable for their complex textures, rich harmonies, and orchestration, and the elaborate use of leitmotifs. Tannhäuser is an opera of his middle period. Elisabeth hears that her beloved Tannhäuser is returning to the Hall of Song. She enters the hall and greets it brilliantly and with great joy. Soprano Diane Di Stasio delivers Elizabeth's aria, accompanied by pianist Craig Ketter.
Thank you.
Der Ring des Nibelungen is a cycle of 4 operas based loosely on the characters from Germanic heroic legend. It is often referred to as the Ring Cycle or the Ring of the Nibelung. Wagner wrote the libretto and music over the course of about 26 years, from 1848 to 1874. The 4 parts that constitute the Ring Cycle are in sequence: Das Rheingold, Die Walküre, Siegfried, Götterdämmerung. In Das Rheingold, the first installment of the cycle, Alberich, a Nibelung, curses the ring. After Wotan, the ruler of the gods, and Loge, demigod of fire, chain him and take both his magic gold and magic ring from him, Alberich angrily says that anyone who owns the ring will be cursed to die. Listen to baritone Daniel Sutton deliver Alberich's curse.
Bin ich nun frei? Wirklich frei? So grüß euch denn meine Freiheit, erster Groß. Wie durchflogen wir geriet, verfloh sei dieser Ring. Gab sein Gold mir Macht ohne Maß, nun zeugt ein Zaubertod, dem der ihn trägt. Keine Frau soll seiner sich freuen, keine glückliche Lache sein lichter Glanz. Wer ihn besitzt, ihn zehre die Sorge, und wer ihn nicht, hat den Nagel den Neid. Jede Gier nach seinem Gut, doch keine genesene Noten sein, und obwohl erhöht ihn sein Herr, doch ein Lüge ziehen ihm so. Dem Tod verfallen, fressen die Feigen die Furcht. Solange er lebt, stirbt der Letzte dahin, des Ringes Herr, des Ringes Knecht. Bis in meiner Hand den Geraubter wieder ich halte. So signet in höchster Not der Nibelung seinen Ring. Behalt ihn nun, hüte ihm wohl, meine Flucht lässt du nicht.
Götterdämmerung is the final opera of The Ring. The final scene of the opera is known as Brunhilde's immolation scene. After Siegfried is killed, Brunhilde orders a funeral pyre to be made by the Rhine River. Carrying the ring, she tells the Rhine maidens to claim it from her once the fire has removed its curse. Brunhilde rides her horse into the flames. Valhalla and the gods are consumed by the fire, and the ring's gold is returned to the river. Listen to soprano Amanda Zori Hick in this epic scene with Mitchell Serker at the piano. Erich Wolfgang Korngold was an Austrian-born composer and conductor. In 1934, he fled the Nazi regime, moved to the US, and became one of the most important and influential composers in Hollywood history. He was very active in Europe in his 20s. His opera Die Tote Stadt premiered in 1920 and was one of the greatest hits of the 20s. But the work was banned by the Nazi regime because of Korngold's Jewish ancestry, and after World War II, it fell into obscurity. After Marietta leads her troupe to a toast, she asks Fritz to sing a song. He chooses Pierrot's Tanzlied, which tells the tale of a clown dancing in the moonlight with his beloved, a simple happiness now lost to him forever. We now invite you to hear baritone Artur Rozek sing this beautiful aria, with Bogna Dulinska at the piano. Kurt Weill was a German, later American composer, active from the 1920s in his native country and his later years in the United States. He was a leading composer for the stage, best known for his fruitful collaborations with Bertolt Brecht. Happy End is a three-act musical comedy to which Weill and Brecht contributed only the songs. It premiered in Berlin in 1929. The action takes place in Chicago. The song Surabaya Johnny is sung by the character Lillian Holiday, a lieutenant from the Salvation Army who tries to save Gangster Bill from his life of crimes. The young woman recounts her passion for a man who uses her. Mezzo-soprano Manon Blanc del Salle interprets this emotional song, accompanied by pianist Yu-Hao Guo. Franz Lehár was an Austro-Hungarian composer. He is mainly known for his operettas, of which the most successful and best known is The Merry Widow. Individual songs from some of his works have become standards, notably Meine Lippen, sie küssen so heiß, My Lips, They Kiss So Passionately from Giuditta. The story, which bears a resemblance with Bizet's Carmen, tells of the army officer Octavio and his consuming love for Giuditta, who leaves him because he refuses to desert the army for her. Closing the concert, soprano Milena Knaus will sing the sensuous aria of Giuditta, My Lips, They Kiss So Passionately. She is accompanied by pianist Tim Ribchester.
Ich weiß es selber nicht, warum man gleich von Liebe spricht, wenn man in meiner Geist in meine Augen schaut und meine
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed listening to our wonderful singers. We welcome you to check out DictionBuddy.com and see what it can help you with in your journey to learning more wonderful music. Please also join us next time for the English concert. Thank you again.